Several episodes ago, we started building a Nav Bar specific tile, and the point of that tile is to surface our favorite queries, as you see here on my screen, to provide access anytime from anywhere. So I was reviewing this query tile and I have a couple of changes I think we should make. Now, our main focus for this episode will be accessibility, but let's take care of an easy change first. And for context, let's review a couple of Oracle delivered Nav Bar items. Then we'll compare them to ours. So here, let's go with my team. So my team opens in the sidebar, and I want you to notice, of course, there's a divider between each row, but that divider, it runs all the way to the edge, each edge. Okay, what about the menu? Again, divider, and it runs to the edges. Yes. What about ours? Ooh, well, there's spacing, isn't there? Now, is that a problem? No. I mean, you might even say you like the spacing. But the Oracle delivered, the pattern is no space. The content should run edge to edge. And as we do the hover effect, you notice, oh, well, okay, that does look a little bit awkward, doesn't it? It probably should run edge to edge. So the question is, where is that spacing coming from? Well, let's go ahead and dig in. Let's see if we can figure it out. So I'm going to inspect, and let's just work our way up the HTML. And as you see, as I keep working my way up, I'm hovering over these items. And the web browser is highlighting the item that I'm hovering over. And oh, there it is. Do you see that sort of yellow-green area on the outside? That would be the padding. And what is that coming from? It's coming from a group box that says PS apps content for the style class. And if we look down here in the style rules, you see it says padding. There it is. That's what's defining that padding. That's what's keeping our content running from edge to edge. So the question is, where's that PS apps content style class coming from? Well, the answer comes from the layout we used when we originally built our solution. When you create a new fluid solution, you start with Control N, type the word page, and then choose parens fluid. Now, if I were to hit the Enter key, the very next question would be, what layout do you want to choose? So let's take a look at what those layouts look like. They all start with PSL, and we can see what we chose is PSL apps content. Now, the PSL apps content gives us an outer group box. That's it. And the style class in that outer group box is PS apps content, which gives us that padding on the outside. Now, there are two other layouts that would have been, in this case, more appropriate. There's the PSL panel content and the PSL panel nav. They also include one outer group box. But here I want to open one of these just for comparison purposes. It's narrower. Okay, that makes sense. But hey, it's fluid. Size doesn't matter. And if we look at the style class, aha, PS panel content. That's the difference. So if we come here to our outer group box, we can just overwrite with PS panel content, and that, let's see, it should fix the margin issue. Or shall I say padding. I want to do a refresh here, and a refresh in a tile is actually really simple. All I have to do is switch from one tile and then back again. And sure enough, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so what should we have done? Well, in the beginning, we probably should have chosen a more appropriate layout, PSL panel content or PSL panel nav. But hey, what happens if you choose the wrong layout? And that's why I did this. I wanted to help you recover in that event that you say to yourself later, oh, I think I chose the wrong layout for my content. You have to start over? No. Just compare the two layouts, figure out the delta, and overwrite the differences. Just update your solution. Your pages, your fluid pages, are not attached to layouts. When you create a page from a layout, what you're doing is cloning an Oracle delivered page. So it's taking a point in time copy, and you're no longer using that layout. You're just using your page. So there's nothing from that layout that carries forward. Well, carries forward at the point in time clone, right? Then you start making your changes, and it's yours. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is I don't like the way we're handling the hover effect. As I hover over each one of these rows, you notice that great background color change and the border change. Now, the way we applied that, it was clever, it was easy. And what we did was we added a button to a grid, and we marked the button, or hyperlink in this case, as execute PC on row group click. Now, this button or hyperlink, that would trigger field change PeopleCode, wouldn't it? And the execute PC on row group click causes the entire row to be clickable. And then what we did was wrote a little bit of PeopleCode to hide it. Again, it's clever, it's easy, it works within the PeopleSoft framework. It's the way that you find transaction pages built with that hover effect. But in our case, I think it's going to confuse the screen reader. And I think we may have an accessibility issue. So let me share with you from the HTML perspective what the screen reader sees. So the screen reader is first going to see the execute PC on row group click list item with data-role equals button. That's fantastic. The screen reader reads that and it says button. And then it says the label, the text that's on the front of that button, which would be PT, sec, plist, users, etc. The entire thing is clickable as far as the screen reader is concerned. But the screen reader is going to be invoking field change PeopleCode. Now, on a standard transaction page, that's fantastic. This is not a standard transaction page. We need to instead invoke some Fluid Framework JavaScript. And in a prior episode, we associated that Fluid Framework JavaScript with our group box using row init PeopleCode JavaScript events with our on-click handler drilling to a specific query URL. We set that up in a prior episode. So what we need to do now, I believe, is number one, fix up these metadata attributes that provide context for the screen reader and eliminate the second click handler. See, I don't think the screen reader is ever going to see this one. The screen reader is going to click this, which doesn't do what the user might expect. It's this one. So we need to change this one to have a particular role, and we need to get rid of the role on this one. So first thing, let's look at what it says. Data-role equals button. Well, let's take a look at, say, let's go to menu. Let's see what it shows. So as the data-role for the accessibility. And it says role equals menu item. Role equals presentation. Oh, role equals presentation says, hey, accessibility screen reader, ignore this. It's for changing the appearance only. Data-role equals menu item. Oh, hey, screen reader, this is a menu item. Take this action. Make this an actionable item. Interesting. Okay, so what can you and I do from a page perspective to cause these to render with, say, the role equals menu item and role equals presentation? Well, let's go back to our page at design view. And for our grid, we're going to switch into one of the newer grid types. So PeopleTools 854 gave us several different grid types. In later releases, I believe it was 857, gave us this menu grid layout. So let's choose the menu grid layout. And then let's go ahead and reload. And let's take a look at the attributes now. So we can see at the LI level, it now says role equals menu item. Oh, interesting. And if we go up here a little bit higher, we'll get to the UL and it says role equals menu. Perfect. So the accessibility, the screen reader, is going to say, I've got a menu coming up. And then it's going to say menu item, menu item, menu item. That's perfect, isn't it? That's what we want. But they're still at the wrong place. They're still at the list item. In this case, they're still at the list item level with its field change click handler and not with our JavaScript level, with our JavaScript events. So let's do this. Let's get rid of the execute PC on row group click, which is going to eliminate. And here, I want to show you really quickly. So the LI says role equals menu item. You see that? The div, it does not say that, does it? Okay, role, menu item at the LI level. I'm going to press the OK button, save, and we need to reload this, and we'll go back to the same spot again. Now, no hover effect anymore. We just turned that off. And we were leveraging the hover effect earlier. It was a clever trick, but maybe not the right trick. So let's scroll up a little bit, and let's look at the LI now. Role equals presentation. Aha. That tells the screen reader, hey, the semantics that you would normally apply to list items, ignore them. This is here for presentation purposes only. That's fantastic. That's actually what we want. Instead, we want to apply the role equals menu item to this, the div, the group box, this group box right here. Now we're already associating HTML attributes with this group box through PeopleCode. Right here. Excuse me, right here. And this PeopleCode gets its content from this HTML definition. So let's add role equals menu item here. And then when we reload, we see at the real clickable item, it says role equals menu item. That's fantastic. Now, accessibility-wise, we're done. But now we need to go back to our sighted user, someone who's not using a screen reader, who's able to use a mouse, and see if we can apply some sort of effect for them. Because right now, I can't tell this is clickable. As I hover over, there's no indicator here that this is a clickable item. And for that, we're going to apply some CSS. So let's do this. Let's see. We've already inspected, right? We found it. Oops. We've already found the item. Let's just confirm. Okay, there it is. And it is this div item here. But, so here's what I want. I want cursor equals a pointer, so it'll change the hand. I also want the hover effect. So, but here's the thing. As I hover over, you notice the div item, it's kind of on the inside there. Now I want the border, the background color, I want it to be the entire box. So it's really this item here. So even though the click handler, even though accessibility, it's all here, we're going to go ahead and style this item here. And we can do that on a row by row basis using row init and the row style property. But that would require for each row a little bit of PeopleCode. And actually, I guess we kind of already have some. But it may be more effective and efficient to go to the outer, well, let's just do it here at the grid level. And let's create what we may call, say, a master selector for this grid. And let's apply the style class. How about JSM? What is this? Well, these are queries. They're being rendered in a menu fashion. So how about JSM_JSM for a site-specific prefix, query-menu. Okay, I like that. And let's reload here. And next thing we need to do is just start mocking up the style attributes that cause this to render properly. So at the LI level, let's define a style attribute. So how about .jsm_query-menu? And how about .ps_grid-row? Okay, fantastic. Let's go with cursor pointer. Now, as I hover over, notice the hand, the pointer. That's a good start, but I don't know about you. That's for me, that's a very minor change. It'd be easy for me to miss that. So how about I want something a lot more obvious, say changing the background color, the border, etc. Much like, here. Oops, excuse me, here. You notice how these change dramatically. The menu. Significant changes. The favorite queries, no, not so much. So how about this? Let's go to, let's find the item again. And here, let's go to, oh, we lost it. No, we still have it there. Let's define a new style class, just so we can get to the inspector style sheet. Fantastic, there it is. This is what I wanted. The CSS we wrote earlier, because I actually want to clone some of that. We don't need this down here. And what I want is a hover effect. And instead of the, let's do this. Let's just go with background color. And let's go with orange just for something obvious and easy to type. Oh yeah, definitely. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? But it also does not match the Oracle delivered styling. Now, I did a little bit of research in advance. Let's do this. How about in a new window? And let's see, let's go to employee self-service and personal details and addresses. And as I hover over each row, you notice the background color change there? It's sort of a slate bluish gray. And notice the border around the items. It's sort of a dot border. So I did a little bit of research in advance, and I discovered what those attributes are. So we can apply them here. So rather than seeing, for example, the orange, which maybe perhaps doesn't go so well. I have some other attributes we can apply instead. And these are attributes that I copied from the Oracle delivered style sheet. Now, I like what we have. I mean, it looks good. It matches, it fits incredibly well with PeopleTools 8.5.9. What about earlier PeopleTools releases? Wrong colors, wrong attributes. What about PeopleTools 8.6, 6.1, 6.2? I don't know. Anyways, what I'm pointing out here is I like what we did. It fits, it merges incredibly well with the Oracle delivered styles for 8.5.9. But I just created work for myself. That's why I like the other solution, where we just insert a hyperlink and we say execute PC on row group click. I wish we could just use field change PeopleCode. We'd be done. But since we have to use that JavaScript, we need a different way to implement the same behavior while still being accessible friendly. But this requires me to maintain these colors and borders and styles across Oracle delivered theme changes. Now, you could go live with what we have here. I mean, it's awesome. The hover effect, it's working perfectly everywhere. But you can't see it here. Let's do an inspect. And let's move our up over. Okay, so there is the clickable region. You see that, the clickable region? Do you see that white space around? See, there's a nice blue box around the clickable region. There's area around it that isn't blue. Or if we move up to the item that's actually styled for the hover effect, you notice the yellow-green border around it? The yellow-green border area is not clickable. I think that's kind of annoying because it has the hover effect of being clickable, but if I were to just hover right there and click, nothing happens. I have to actually be over the words for the click handler to work. Now, like I said, you could go live with that. I mean, what are the odds somebody's actually going to click in the wrong spot? Yeah, that would be me. I would. And I would think that would be a little bit on the annoying side. So what you and I need to do next is figure out how to get that click handler region, this box, to take up the entire width and height of the LI item, the list item. And that's my challenge for you. How will you do that? Now I have a tip for you. If I hover over, or if I select this LI and I look in the CSS, I want you to see that here's where the padding is at, and that's what it is. It's a padding issue. So what we need to do is eliminate that padding, some way override the CSS. And the fantastic thing is we have a grid, top-level grid selector. If we can now say, hey, any list items, any grid rows that are children of that master selector, eliminate the padding. Should be trivial, right? Except for this important qualifier. I do not like the important qualifier. What we have is an issue of both selector specificity and the overriding important qualifier, which overrides selector specificity until you have a more specific selector with the important qualifier. So that's my challenge for you. Figure out how to make the entire region clickable by eliminating the padding around these list items, and then share your answers with us. Either share them in the comments to this video or send them to us at info@jsmpros.com. I'm curious to see how you solve this issue. Or here's another question. Do you have other ideas to improve this tile? Share those ideas as well. Now, at JSM Pros, we teach PeopleTools and web development concepts like this every week. So be sure to check out our website to see what we're offering next. Or here's an idea. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter feeds to receive updates every time we post a new course. Or if you have a team that wants to learn more, give us a call and let's get something scheduled. Now, before we go, I have a question for you. Do you have a topic you'd like to see us cover in a future soundbite? If so, let us know by sharing your ideas at soundbites.jsmpros.com. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.